Call the Personnel and Finance Committee meeting to order. And first we have the minutes of January. No objections to the minutes.
No objection.
First we have reports of personnel and HR.
Good afternoon. The report for the Personnel Department. To date, the HR Department has focused on administrative tasks, recruitment, employee relations, compliance, reporting benefits, administration, onboarding, risk management, and workers' comp. Today, we have a total of 64 employees. One person is on medical leave. And we do have 2 new resumes for the finance director.
So do we have any vacancies at this time?
Yes, we do have a couple of vacancies. We have one in Public Works Department for a CDL driver, and we have the finance director position, as well as, I think that's the only openings per se that we do have that's available right now. That's on the website. I believe those are the only ones.
Go ahead,
We
City
will
Manager.
be opening up the 4 driver positions that we'll be using for the summer to handle the parking enforcement.
For the Gene Clark Park, you saying, or just around the city?
Gene Clark Park, Canoe Livery, and downtown, when we had started with that too.
For full-time, part-time?
And 2 part-time, depending on what the need is.
Commissioner.
Are you able to send me like an organizational chart? I didn't get any of that.
It's on the personnel report. It's an organizational chart that's on there. I can, yeah, I can send it to you.
I'm just trying to understand how positions are, what openings, and what does that look like, and laterally anyway. If you can understand that way, I'll understand. Can you send me like job descriptions and things of that nature, or would the clerk send me all of those
Of the open positions?
of all
the
staff?
positions? Yep, I can send it to you. Excuse me.
All right, we can move forward.
Second report is for the city income tax. So to date, the city income tax department, we're focusing mainly right now on open email and doing annual returns for businesses. I have not started processing for tax returns this year. So right now, I am focusing only on the annual reconciliations and payments and just trying to get through mail. Tax returns are due April the 30th of this year, and it applies to anyone that works and/or lives in the city limits of Benton Harbor. If you live within the city limits, it's 1% of all of earned income, regardless of where you work. If you live in the city, it's 1% of your income. If you do not live in the city, it's 0.5% of your income that you made while you worked in the city limits of Benton Harbor.
Commissioner?
How many roles do you serve? So you do income tax, HR,
Risk management, and you- seem like I'm missing one, but mainly it's income tax and HR.
okay. No support staff for you.
No. Compliance is put on hold because it's tax season, so my main focus is getting through tax season before compliance will start up again. For a comparison, for payment comparisons from January of 2025 to January of 2026, the individual returns were up 62%. For withholdings, it's down 5%. Total deposits was down 24%. Revenue was up to 60%. I'm sorry, refunds was up to 60%, and revenue was up 13%. That's just like comparison from last month of January, last year of January to this year of January. And sometimes the percentage difference, it just depends when payments come in, when people actually submit tax returns, it just differs. So that's where that difference could come in at. And that concludes the income tax report.
Commissioner Henry, got anything?
Just one question through the chair. Is there, is there age limitation for the income, local income tax?
Unfortunately not. It's all earned income, so regardless of your age, if you actually have earned income, you're subjected to the city income tax.
Honorable Chair, here's a history lesson. We passed a resolution to kind of relieve some of that, and I wish that we would go back and look at it and see what actually we could do about it
So if,
through your committee and your authority, Chair.
Mr. Galladay, if somebody is retired, that's not, you mean working, you gotta be, okay, earn income. So retirees and stuff like that,
If you're retired, then you receive pension, it's not earned income.
income tax to be paid to that,
Not for pension.
pension and
it's
stuff.
earned income.
Earn income if you're working, Commissioner. If you're over 60, well,
I
sometimes
understand
people
that.
gotta work.
Honorable Chair, I understand that. But we did pass a resolution, and I want to go back and review that to see what we could do, because there was a purpose for that resolution, and that was to relieve some of the financial pressure on our residents. So I want to go back through you and the authorization that you have and review that resolution, please, sir.
You, Commissioner. Commissioner Kennard,
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to ask, if it's okay, could I?
ask the chair, then it's,
Chair, yes, Chair. I'd like to ask her a question. Here it says in the little stipends, I don't know what you would call this, but the little smidgen of money we get each month as commissioners. And it says here, the city income tax here that's taken out. Okay, so is this city income tax, is the taxes that incurs in the run of a year out of this portion, is that averaged out in the monies that we get each month?
It's the money you receive each month.
Uh-huh.
So the pay stub that you receive is a percentage of the income that you earn for that month, that you receive the check.
Yeah, but that's going towards the city income tax,
Yes,
isn't it?
ma'am.
Because that's what it says here, city income tax.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
go ahead, Commissioner.
You go ahead.
No, that's the clerk something.
Me too. Okay, so I would like to know what we're referring to in regards to some alleviation. So was it an age? Do you know offhand, through the chair?
You're talking about the age limit of paying the city income tax. But if you working, earn income, you have, that's part of the income tax. As long as you working, you pay the income tax. You can work till you 70 and 80, you still got to pay income tax, right? You working.
You have earned income. And it starts at what age?
Well,
Any
yeah. City income tax resolution you're referring to, right?
Yep, I'll forward that on to the committee so that you can review it if you want to discuss it at the next
Okay.
meeting.
Make sure you send it to all the commissioners too. Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I like that hat you're wearing. Anything else? Any more questions, Commissioner?
No, thank you.
City income tax.
No, I was just asking that question. It's pretty much because the main thing that I want to know in them deducting that is already taken out of our checks when we get
The stipend, you mean?
That's what we get is a stipend.
Yeah, but
Part of
it's still,
but still, yes, they call that earned
yeah,
income.
and it's,
So then it's taken out already.
Right.
In our checks.
yeah.
Right, that is correct. However, even though you do receive the withholdings, you still have to file an income tax return. It's the same rules and regulations as federal and state. So you have to file a city income tax return.
With the city of Benton
With
Harbor.
the city of Benton Harbor, even though you have withholdings, you still have to file that tax return.
Thank you. Clerk, did we get a financial report reading? You know how she sent me. Bear with me 1 second here. Financials for the city for the month of January, right? The general fund and utility fund cash balances are still reported as zero on the chart, even though both funds have bank balances. However, the balances are not, it's just like last month, almost. Clearly, yeah. The major road and cash, but however, the balances are not enough to cover outstanding payables that still need to be paid. Major road cash are very low due to expenses for the water and sewer projects paid by the road fund for storm sewers and road work that were unallowable expenses for both grants. Utility funds expenditures are high compared to last year due to legal costs and lead line lawsuit. At the end of January 26, the utility fund passed due balances 60 days over 262,000 or 30% of the 870,000 total accounts receivable balance. The past due balances has increased as a percent of total 3% compared to December 31st. Following the summary slides is a full detail of the January and 31st, 2026 revenue and expenditure report. We're just looking at the report, and General fund and utility funds are still low, not enough to cover, and it seems like the utility collections are still, it went up 3%. You can look at your chart again, and we have the general fund income tax. We have as of 1/31/26, $1,711,455. I don't know if that 420 is deducted out of that, but you had a question? I'm just looking to make sure we. And utility fund service is still low. City manager, yes, I got a question for you. How's the dumping fees? They went up more too for the rubbish?
They have gone up somewhat, and I'm checking to be sure that we're still, as to whether we're receiving the additional revenues for the stamps and so forth that are to be put on. That will require constant monitoring to make sure that that's happening.
The collections, how's it going in collections?
Collections are going fairly steady. We were getting in the neighborhood of 350,000 a month on collections, and I understand the past month was 368. So we're on target with that.
Commissioner Fields, you have anything about the finances?
So again, what was our, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Clerk.
I just wanted to answer your question about if the 420,000 came out of there. No, because it was not approved till February, and these are January balances.
Thank you so much, Clerk. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, so what was the total that we paid the attorneys, again, through the chair, for the city manager?
Which attorney are you referring to?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Boardman.
Boardman, the people that handle the water claim.
Yes.
I'm not certain if this is the total amount that we paid them. I was under the impression that we paid them somewhere around, I don't want to just throw out a figure, I want to make sure. But nevertheless, what I had was the figure that we owed them. We owed them $334,000 at the point when we began the discussions about transferring the money. Since that time, there's been invoices for an additional $33,000, and I believe there's another set of invoices that don't recall exact amounts.
That we set up a payment, we went into a payment plan with them.
Correct. We're paying them $50,000 a month.
Commissioner Henry, Commissioner Kennard, can you come to the mic, please, for people can see and hear?
Yes. And as I'm understanding, everyone that works in Benton Harbor, okay, they have to pay into the city income tax. Am I clear?
Yes. If you work, yeah.
Okay, so at one time we did discuss the fact that it was a lot of them that wasn't paying that was working here in the city of Benton Harbor. That means repairing the streets and things like that. Are those people kicking in now?
They are now. As a matter of fact, I had a discussion today with Jason. They, on our behalf, have to review every payroll anyway to ensure federal compliance with the Davis-Bacon Act. And I asked them while they're doing that review, I want them also to check to see if the deductions are showing in their payroll for our income tax.
Okay, one other thing I want to ask, with the city income tax, since it was put in place, are they responsible, just like anyone else, to pay into the city income tax on a yearly basis?
Just for the time period that they're working here in the city. You may have a contractor like Five Star that was here and they finish and they're gone. So no, they don't have to pay anything after they
I
leave.
understand that,
Yeah.
but those that have been here at all time, all over the years, and was supposed to have been paying into the city income tax, those are supposed to be in charge for each of the years that they worked here in the city of Benton Harbor.
I sense that your question may be referring to prior years. No, we're not doing anything with prior years, but in the current period and future, we're monitoring to see that they do pay.
But then your residents here, are they excused to the same standards as the companies?
I believe so. Lisa, could you help with that? Back, trying to collect for several years ago on residents only.
So it seems like you're referring to two different things, withholdings and city income tax. You cannot go back years for withholdings for people paychecks. So just say like if a contractor worked in the city in 2019, all the employees they had in 2019, there's no way to go back and say you have to withhold city income tax of the earnings they had in 2019. However, for the tax return, you can go back those years and require for someone, well, up to 4 years, you can go back and require them to actually be up to date on their city income tax. That's a part of compliance, which right now I'm not doing. I did start doing it last year, and we did have a lot of people actually paid in. However, as I stated, I'm only one person, need more help in the department, so I'm doing the best I can as far as the compliance part is concerned, but that's a process, because not only you have to go back and do the contractors, you also have to go back and do all the people that live in Benton Harbor. So it's not an easy task. It's a long task that takes a lot of hours, and compliance normally starts after tax season. And that goes for all the cities in the state of Michigan that have city income tax.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure that in the time that the city income tax has been put in place, if that person or company has been here in that amount of years, aren't they responsible just like the city residents?
Yes, they're responsible, but just like some of the city residents haven't paid city income tax and lived here all their lives. That's a part of compliance. Yes, if you're asking the question, are they liable to pay city income tax? That's correct. If you're in the city of Benton Harbor. So if you have a company that is not actually in the city, but just does work in the city of Benton Harbor, then that's different. But yes, they are liable to pay the city income tax for the money earned while they're in the city of Benton Harbor.
Okay, what you're saying is that if they live within the city of Benton Harbor and works in the city of Benton Harbor, then they're liable. But if they don't live in Benton Harbor and they work in Benton Harbor, is that what you're saying?
No, if you live in the city of Benton Harbor, regardless, or if a business is within the city of Benton Harbor, you have to pay city income tax. Even if you even if you do business in the city of Benton Harbor, everyone has to pay city income tax. It just depends on the amount that you actually pay.
Okay.
So if you live in the city, it's 1% regardless of where you work. If you don't live in the city, it's 0.5%.
Okay, thank you.
And that's what was voted on. Right.
Commissioner Fields?
Okay, so I believe Commissioner is asking about Ebermarch. So there was an agreement for them not to pay prior to, and we will start charging them now through the chair?
City manager, could you speak on that? Abermarsh?
Yes.
Are you referring to what I said a little while ago?
Right, in regards to the taxes, you said they will start, or,
No, that was monitoring the payrolls of companies that we have contracts with, like Northern and B and Z and so forth, that you see, under federal law, where we're utilizing monies that come from whether it's ARPA, CDBG, or whatever. If it's over, if the contract's over a certain amount, they're required to comply with Davis-Bacon Act prevailing wages. And the only way we can do that is by inspecting their payroll regularly. Avon-Marsh inspects those payrolls already to be sure they comply with Davis-Bacon. I'm asking them to also, while they're reviewing them for Davis-Bacon, review them to see that income tax deductions are being taken out on the people they're paying.
okay,
That's one way to make sure that when we've got these contracts, that we get what should be paid to the city.
You gotta come back.
One time, they work pay. Do they have to come up, you remember we even, as I asked the question one year, I think it was my second year of being here as a commissioner, I asked that question, were the ones that are working on the streets and working here in the city, that are different companies, are they paying into the city income tax? It was said that no, because if they charge for, if they're charged to pay city income tax, then they'd have to charge more for doing the work here. This is what was said to me at that particular time. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to be sure that the kind of money they're making, they're more able than one that's flipping burgers to pay city income tax. That's why I wanted to get a clear understanding
Right,
that since
right.
it's been implemented,
Right.
do they have to, if they hadn't been paying, do they have to come in and catch up? This is the thing that I'm trying to get a clear understanding.
Right.
If they're supposed to come and do a clean up as to what they owed those years that they were paying.
Okay. Jason, Jason, you want to say something on that?
Yeah, I was going to say a couple things.
Can you come up?
From my recollection and everything of how the income tax started, and, you know, you guys have had work done since 2020, where you've had significant contractors in there. At some point, I don't think the clause was provided to the contractors for a couple years. You know, it was new. And I mentioned before, you know, if you possibly charge your contractors, you know, the income tax, you could possibly just, they're going to increase their fees a little bit to cover that cost. Since then, though, regardless of that statement, we do now have a clause in the contracts for the last several years that state that the city, the contractors are responsible to follow all regulations for the city income tax. So compliance is an item there. You know, you could have a contractor that works in St. Joseph or Bangor or St. South Haven 358 days of the year, and then they come over to the city and do work on a job for 7 days. You know, so their compliance, of course, the big projects are definitely easy to keep. So that's what Mr. Little is saying. We will be checking their withholdings as best we can do, because they are still, you know, they're responsible of filling out that withholding and filing their tax return just like everybody else. You know, so that's on the contract side. So we have that clause in there, and we are asking them at every pre-construction meeting that, you know, so, you know, some of the employees for a contractor don't really have the say on where they're going. So it's actually new to them sometimes that they have to pay that fee. I mean, if their owner or their project manager doesn't tell them, hey, you got to withhold that money, you know, because these individual people could be working in a different community. So it is tough on compliance on construction. So, but we do have the clause in there, and we will be checking it as best we can when we check the federal. They have to submit certified payroll to us for the state funding that you received anyways.
So in every bid that come out, that clause is in.
That is in there now, yes.
All right.
That is right.
All right.
Speaking as a person that works on the business side of things, you know, Commissioner Fields mentioned that it's not, Admarsh has been paying, for example, since this clause has come out. You know, I've filed where I've withhold my, you know, it's withhold. Of course, I file a tax return at the end of the year, and I think this year you know, they said I owed the city another $6. But before, you know, I might get something back. I might get 40 or 50 bucks back. But, you know, we've filed it ever since, our staff has filed it ever since it started. And, you know, it's all about compliance, I guess, on all those businesses that do that. Like the contractor side, we can do some things in our side to see what we can do to help out with that. But yes, compliance on all businesses is probably difficult.
Commissioner Fields?
So, if I'm understanding your statement in regards to bids and different things of that nature, if they are aware of the city income tax, they're going to charge more, so we're going to pay them.
You could possibly pay more for that pricing, but
So-
all the contractors would be doing that. It would, there's a good other way to look at it. Yes, you're paying more, but most of the jobs that you have are doing it through grant funds. So it is a way to supplement your income tax, because you're kind of taking some of the grant funds and replenishing your income tax fund. But yes, if they wanted to make the same profit, let's say, on any other job or a different community or anything else, they may increase their bids slightly. But if they're all doing it smartly, they're all doing the same thing. So you might just have a little bit more, it might cost a little more because you do have the income tax. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, they could, if they're really trying to hit the same profit level numbers, is what they might do on a different community, so.
Thank you, Jason. Financials? Thank you. Resolution to extend the agreement with Raymond Robeson for auditing services. City manager.
Yes, sir. The agreement that we had with Raymond Robson for auditing the city's books has expired, and they've given us a price for continuing to do the work for the next several years. It includes a percentage increase for each year, but I've checked it. The figure is basically reasonable. I contacted My Deal to see because they had some auditing contracts under My Deal. The amount's reasonable, so I'm recommending we go forward with it.
Go ahead, Commissioner Fields.
So did we look for other bids for the city manager through the chair? Are we seeking others? I know you said that it's decent okay, but have we looked into others?
In this, no, because we recognize if we went to a new auditing company, there's going to be a considerable amount of time lost that we would wind up paying for, and them getting used to understanding how the city's system works and how to get the information and that kind of thing. That was a reason why, since we weren't going out like that, I wanted to check the reasonableness of the fees, and I did that by contacting the My Deal program. That's the State Intergovernmental Purchasing Act program where the state negotiates or bids contracts that are used in other places and so forth. The information is available to us. I looked to see if the prices would be any lower to go under theirs, and they indicated no, that these prices are in line.
Commissioner Henry? Commissioner Kennard? Okay, all right. With them for a while now, so we've been doing, and the audit's been clean and clear, and they've been doing a great job of taking care of the city.
They have, and they're one of the larger, well-recognized companies, and an audit from them has meaning. People understand that if they say it's clear, it's clear.
You got a question you want to say? Deputy? You got nothing? All right. Move that forward. Consensus? Thank you. Next is other business resolution authorizing city manager to execute a contract with Northern Construction Services Corp. For territorial, Wakanda, Cherry, and Water Street sewer improvement projects. Jason, you up?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Isom. I'm hitting as many committee meetings as I can before you guys have the commission meetings. This just would happen to be the next one after we took bids last Thursday, and I was here last Wednesday. So I'm trying to get these moving as we get contracts underway for this year's construction program. This memo is for the city manager to enter a contract with Northern Construction. Northern Construction bid on the project last Thursday. They were the low bid out of 3 bidders, and that recommendation letter is in your packet. Their base bid was $1,873,961.09. The project is what we kind of bundled together as what we call the Territorial Wakanda, Cherry, and Water Street project. There's a project map in the very back of the recommendation. Wakanda is a short block up there, the north side of the city, between Winans and John Street. If you recall, these are the projects that were approved by Eagle for funding for the city. So these are the only locations that we could go and replace the sanitary sewers on with the current program and project plan that was approved by Eagle. So we have a section of Wakanda that the sewer's in rough shape there. The section of Territorial Road is between 4th Street and Pawpaw. I'm sorry, Second Street. That is by the Javis facility and Chatterbox. And also it spans where Ox Creek is crossing there. The reason why we want to get this in the contractor's hands so quickly is because we have talked to Javis and we have talked to Chatterbox, not so much Chatterbox, but Javis has large equipment deliveries coming in July, so we want to hit the territorial section first and get out of the way for the summer. So we've already talked to Javis on that. Cherry Street is just a short section of sewer replacement from Pipestone to Cedar Street. And then the Water Street, I mentioned last presentation. Water Street is the section of sanitary sewer that actually feeds the lift station project. So I mentioned during the lift station approval that the lift station is getting rehab. This would be actually for the sewer work. We have it separated into 2 different contractors. Northern has done a good job in the city in the past. They recently completed the Division in Columbus project, the Maine Monroe project, and last year's McAllister, Pavone, and Broadway projects. So they have adequate staff. They've been doing a good job keeping all public works staff up to date, and we recommend moving it forward to award the contract to the low bidder of Northern Construction.
Northern will start all these projects at one time, or just?
We have it set up. Good question. The actual project starts, let's call it April 1st or whenever we can get agreed to, and we want to do it as early as possible.
That's Javis, right?
Yep.
Javis.
And they have until August 31st or around Labor Day. All the projects that we take to you this year are around the same time frame. But we do have a milestone schedule in there for them to hit certain streets by a certain time. So they have to complete territorial first or by a certain time. Because these are spread out, they'll probably have enough manpower to do more than one street at once. We have still awarded and talked with them on contractor-wise or schedule-wise, but Javis and things, we thought the get in and out of territorial would be the most impactful there with, at the beginning of the season before the summer season really hits. So nothing overlaps and I think Northern's going to do a good job. They just did the large project on McAllister, so these are shorter stretches and are pretty straightforward for them.
So all this intertwined with Fair Avenue and around this time.
None of the detours on this project would really impact, and these aren't limits on Fair Avenue or connections. These are sewer projects, so these are all sewer related, no water main upgrades. And really, because of the state funding requirements, we're limited a little bit more on this year compared to doing everything sidewalk to sidewalk. When it's only sanitary sewer eligible, they only want to replace essentially the roadway above that pipe. So we don't have both utilities coming into play, so you might see some of the sidewalks being left in place. Of course, any damaged ones we'll take care of, but they're going to be, they'll be a little bit more quicker than the full reconstructs of what you've seen on McAllister, Pavone, and Broadway, May, Monroe, and those types.
Okay, and this is all coming from the CWSRF grant?
Absolutely correct.
No
Yep.
impact to the city?
100% from that grant fund.
100%. Commissioner Henry, like that? A lot of work going on in the city. Commissioner Fields, you want to say anything about the project?
So you repair if you damage sidewalks, is what you were saying?
So if you can, I guess I wish I had a graphic, but if you can picture that sanitary sewer is essentially in the center of the street, the state of Michigan will pay for a certain impact zone of replacing that pipe. Of course, we extend it as much as possible because we don't know how the methods and means of methods that the contractor's going to do it. He might want to open cut that, or he might want to use a trench box. But normally what we have on this, we have the curbs replaced, but the sidewalk work more likely will remain. The driveways will replace because we're changing out the road elevation. So we usually will chase the driveways. And if there's not a driveway grading concern, the sidewalk doesn't get touched. So we have to call that out with the state to make sure that with these pay items, these eligible items of work are eligible under the grant. And we don't want to, if we didn't do that, the state would say, well, you can do that work as part of the contract, but we're not contributing the grant cost towards it because it's for sanitary sewer.
And the reason this is important to understand, this is what occurred last year when I have kept explaining, and I'm not sure people were understanding, when I said that initially when we received those grants, we thought everything was covered. And then they came back and said, no, everything isn't, and the city's got to pay back. And we paid back $1 million from the road fund that completely depleted the road fund. And we still owe them $500,000 that's going to be paid out of income tax because that is infrastructure.
Who do we owe $500,000 to?
The state of Michigan. Because we didn't do what he was just describing on the work that we did initially. We were under the impression it was okay. We could replace the whole street, the sidewalk, curb, and everything. And then they came back, and it may well have been that somebody just erred in interpretation and became concerned that they had to correct it. And so we had to pay back. But by doing this, we know up front the state's not paying for us to do from sidewalk to sidewalk. We're only doing, and that's what he's explaining, we're only doing what's necessary to replace and repair that sewer.
Yep.
So who was we? You, when you were saying we didn't understand it last time, and
We, the city.
Yeah. Actually, also Eagle approved projects that were bid 2 years ago and then realized that we were paying for items that they deemed that were ineligible costs. So they came back to the city and said, it's okay to keep them in the contract, but we can't contribute sanitary sewer dollars to replace sidewalks and other ancillary items that aren't within the impact of replacing that sewer. Little tricky last year too, because we had projects that had the water fund and the sewer fund going at the same time. So there was some, the water fund that the city received pays for everything, no questions asked. But the sanitary fund, on how that fund was obligated through the state of Michigan, had certain requirements that could not be used like you guys received at those Public Act 53 funds that we were using for several years, starting after the lead service replacements.
Yes. So, and I understand we are doing it now. So how do we miss it before is my question. Because at what point do we, the city, confirm prior to? Or was it something where they redacted it after the repairs were completed and we just were stuck with the bill?
It was pretty much ongoing when things were happening. Yes, things were already done out there, and they finance department put reimbursement requests in, and they finally they were looking at it. It's not like we were hiding anything. It was just the fact that, hey, wait a minute, you got storm sewer in here. You have storm sewer in here. This is a sanitary project. Eagle has gone through a lot of turnover. The project manager that did the Pipestone project, the northeast section, which is the Highland Territorial, and the Stephen Street project, did all that work up front with the city and got everything approved through the certain requirements. The current project manager for Eagle did not require that level of review until they started looking at the reimbursements, so.
Mr. Henry? See? Mr. Kennard? All right, we'll move that forward. Full commission? Can I get consensus to move that forward, Commissioner Fields? Thanks, everybody, for coming. Manager, we got one request. Could you get the budget timeline calendar ready for us by the next Personnel and Finance Committee meeting?
Yes, as long as it's understood it's an estimate.
Okay. The budget timeline. Start.
He said yes, but what I didn't.
Yeah.
As long as it's understood it's an estimate. Because there are a lot of other things going on, for example, and probably I should mention it anyway in relationship to the whole HR thing. Your police and fire contract is expiring June 30. We've received already a demand to start bargaining. We're making preparation and having to get prepared to do bargaining. I know we're going to get one shortly from AFSCME also, because their contract expires also June 30. And in addition to that, I'll be having to do some preparatory work on the F&V contract. It expires the end of this year, and we're going to need to be ready to sit down and negotiate the changes that we may need to include in that. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and all of it is important.
You, City Manager, for getting the work done. Thank you, Commissioners, for coming tonight. Jason, Mr. Duncan. Public comments. Comments.
I just want to know if we're ever going to sit down and look at the 25% subcontracting opportunities that the commission has thought about probably 35 years ago. And that the apprenticeship program is here and been in the state of Michigan, and now Michigan works for at least 8 to 12 years. And we need to make sure that our city is working with them to get our people into place, especially for the jobs that we're looking for. So that's just another job for us to do, have that conversation and reaching out to Michigan Works and to staff to find out why the 25% is not working for us.
Something to look into. So Jason's aware of that. You aware of that? Public comment?
I'm aware of that.
I just have one question
Yes.
about the bathrooms on the river. Is there any information that I might be able to get today about that? Did you go down there to check?
There is
City
information.
manager.
Friday, the porta potties will be back there.
This coming Friday?
On Friday.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Thank everybody for attending. Thank you, Jason. Clerk, you got something?